Hi, welcome to the Plan Your Visit course. I'm Paul Steinbrook, co-founder and CEO of OurChurch.com. We are excited to be launching some new tools to support the Plan Your Visit strategy. Some new themes, new web pages, and new functionality. And in order to make the most of these tools, we wanted to provide you with some free training, because Plan Your Visit isn't just a web page or a button on your website. It is a comprehensive strategy, and so to be effective, you need to implement the entire strategy beyond just what's on the website. So we have a full course here for you, 9 lessons in all, and I'm going to kick it off in this first lesson, why your church needs Plan Your Visit. But before I get to the why, I want to give you just a brief overview of what Plan Your Visit is, just in case you're not familiar with it. So what is Plan Your Visit? Plan Your Visit is an outreach strategy designed to make it easier for people to visit your church for the first time, to have a good first visit and come back. That's what we all want, right? For our service, for our churches, and for the people who come to visit them. So the challenge is that for most people, when they're looking for a church, they may go online, they might search Google for churches in the area, they might come to the church website and find out a little bit about the church, what the services are like, when the services are, where the church is located, all that sort of stuff. And then it's up to them to show up whenever they feel like it or not show up. And then if they do show up, it can be kind of a stressful situation for most people. So what Plan Your Visit does is it's designed to take away a lot of those hurdles and a lot of that anxiety that goes into visiting a church for the first time. So with Plan Your Visit, you have a web page on your site that is a Plan Your Visit web page. It provides all of the information that a person needs to understand what your church is about, what services are like. And in addition to that, it has a button on it which enables the visitor to plan their visit. So they click the button, it brings up a form that they fill out where they put in their name, their email address, their phone number, and when they're going to visit. And then that information gets passed along to your church. Now, the great thing about this is now that your church knows that this person and their family are coming for a visit, you can have a host waiting for them at the door. A host who can greet them, who can show them around, who can help them get checked in if they have kids that need to get checked in, show them where the coffee and the bathrooms are, all that kind of stuff. So this, it helps them to get to your church. It's more likely that they will visit your church. It's more likely they'll have a good first experience. And then it gives you the opportunity to follow up with them. So that's what Plan Your Visit is in a nutshell. We'll get into a lot more details about the specifics of Plan Your Visit in the next video and other videos beyond that. But I wanted you to have that brief overview in case you weren't familiar with Plan Your Visit. So now let's talk about why your church needs Plan Your Visit. I've got 5 important reasons to share with you. First of all, there are people in your community who need Jesus, right? There's people who haven't heard the gospel, or maybe they've fallen away from God in one way or another. And if you want to reach people in your community with the gospel, then it's really important that you make it easier for them to come visit your church for the first time. So really, number 1 reason, it's all about sharing the gospel with people who don't know Jesus yet. A second reason to use Plan Your Visit is because there are Christians in your community who are trying to live the Christian life, do life with God, but without community. And you know what? That is a really rough way to go. People are really vulnerable to Satan's attacks when they are not connected in community. And so part of your purpose as a church is to help believers who are not yet connected in community to get connected in your community of faith. so they can find a place to serve, so they can find friends, so that they can engage in Bible studies and worship and all of those things. So, to reach the people, the Christians in your community who are not connected with a church, Plan Your Visit helps them to get engaged at your church. Reason number 3, visiting a church is scary. So try to imagine and put yourself in the shoes of somebody who has never been to your church before. They don't know where to park, they don't know what door to come in, they don't know where to take their kids or where the sanctuary is. There's a lot of anxiety that goes into that. They don't know any people there, and it's just uncomfortable. So what Plan Your Visit is all about is taking away those things that might make it uncomfortable for a guest, and make it less scary so they're more likely to visit. A 4th reason to use Plan Your Visit: a first visit can be a bad experience. So from your perspective as a church, you want to give your visitors the best possible first experience, right? But let's say somebody just shows up out of the blue, and hopefully you have greeters who are going to welcome them and so forth. But a lot of times people won't tell you if it's their first visit, and then they might just wander around trying to find where the children's ministry is, where the sanctuary is, where the bathrooms are, and they could go the wrong way. They could do something they're not supposed to do, and it could just make the whole experience really awkward for them. So by having a host that greets them at the door, walks them through the whole experience, you're going to give them a great first experience. You're not leaving that up to chance. And number 5, good reason to Plan Your Visit: better follow-up. All right, so we all know that one of the goals when somebody visits your church for the first time is to have them fill out some sort of a communication card with their name, their email address, their phone number. That way you can follow up with them, right? Well, guests are hit and miss with that. Some fill it out, some don't. And so to eliminate that hit or miss, when somebody fills out the form on your website with Plan Your Visit, now you've got their email address, you've got their phone number so that you can call them or text them. And so now you've got a guaranteed way to follow up with them. So those are the 5 main reasons why you should use Plan Your Visit, benefits that they give you and your church over just the traditional website and hoping and praying that people come and visit for the first time. Let me just share a few other things about Plan Your Visit to help you understand a little bit more about what it is and how it works. So, first of all, Plan Your Visit, really what it comes down to is treating strangers the same way you would treat a good friend. So imagine for a moment you invited a good friend of yours to come to church. Well, what would you do? You would probably text them at some point and say, hey, I'm really looking forward to having you come to church. Do you have any questions about it? You'd do that to a friend, right? You'd probably meet them at the front door and welcome them, right? You'd probably show them around the church. You'd probably help them get their kids checked into children's ministry. You'd probably show them where the coffee is. These are all things that we would do for our friends. And so Plan Your Visit is just treating guests the same way you would treat friends. Next, it's important to know that this is a proven strategy. Hundreds of churches around the United States are already using Plan Your Visit. And this strategy, it's not new with us here at OurChurch.com. There are other organizations who came up with the idea and started implementing it before us. But it's worked for hundreds of churches across the country. And in many cases, they are, in the first 6 weeks of doing this, they're getting anywhere between 10 and 100 people signing up to do Plan Your Visit visits. So it's been very effective, and I'm very confident that it would be effective with your church as well. Because the thing about it is that Plan Your Visit works for every kind of church. people often have a negative attitude about this, where they'll say, well, maybe it works for other churches, but my church is different. So they might say, well, maybe it works in the city, but we're a rural church. Or maybe it works in the country, but we're an urban church. They say, well, maybe this works for big churches, but we're a small church. Or maybe it works with small churches, but we're a big church. The fact of the matter is that this works for urban churches, rural churches, small churches, big churches, predominantly black churches, predominantly Hispanic churches, white churches, Asian churches, churches that have their own building, churches that rent space. No matter what kind of church you have, Plan Your Visit can help to make the experience better for your visitors. All right, so don't just get that part out of your mind that it won't work for your church, because it will. Another great aspect of Plan Your Visit is that it really requires very little time or money. You are just setting up your web page and your Plan Your Visit form. You are doing a little bit of training with your guests, your hospitality staff, your greeters, and so forth. And so it doesn't take a lot to implement at first. And lastly, it is scalable. So the biggest thing that factors into the success of the Plan Your Visit strategy is how many people come to your website. And the more people who visit your website, the more people will plan their visit, the more people will come to your church to visit. And so you can start small, but then you also have the opportunity to scale up by increasing traffic to your website. So we'll talk in some of our training about how you scale up the traffic so you can scale up your visitors. And in the last session in this course, we're going to talk about one particular traffic strategy that is really excited and can just blow up the traffic to your website, like throwing lighter fluid on a fire. It's really exciting. So, but that's a little bit about the Plan Your Visit strategy. I hope that it gets you as excited about it and about implementing it at your church as we are about helping you implement it. So where do we go from here? Well, your action step from lesson 1, share this video with your church leadership team and help them to get on board with the Plan Your Visit strategy. That is your one action step that you have here. And our next lesson, which I'm going to invite you to do, lesson 2, what is Plan Your Visit? So if you want more details about what it is, which I'm sure you do now, I look forward to joining you in the next lesson. Thanks.